Hello again, and welcome to another edition of the TC and Company podcast. I'm Caron from NESN, and we launch season 4 of the podcast. This year, we're going to bring a lot of different people in over the course of the year: current players, past players, baseball people, fans of notoriety who are connected to the Red Sox. We'll have some fun with it this year, and we begin with a podcast that I think you'll really enjoy. A lot of stories to tell this weekend as we commemorate the 10th anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing and the 2013 Boston Red Sox, who in so many ways lifted the city on their backs and rode the emotion of that summer to a World Series, an improbable championship, culminating with a tugboat parade that stopped at the finish line of the Boston Marathon, where the trophy was placed and the victims and heroes were honored. All of that coming together this weekend as the Red Sox return home for the Patriots Day weekend series against Shohei Ohtani and the Angels. Saturday night, there's an event at City Winery in Boston. It's the Hut Stove Cool Music Off the Mound event. This is the event that Theo Epstein started and Peter Gammons started more than 20 years ago, usually held in the off season, but this season doing it as part of that 2013 ceremony. Off the Mound is a variety baseball comedy show hosted by Ryan Dempster, who pitched that 2013 team, started on that Patriots Day, and now 10 years later is running the marathon in honor of a woman who lost her life that day and her foundation. So the stories are great. The event is Saturday night. And again, it will be emotional. It'll be a celebration of the team, but also a remembrance of what happened on April 15th, 2013. We'll talk about it all with Ryan Dempster and Jake Peavy of the 2013 Red Sox, the guests on this week. It's TC and Company podcast.
Secret Service in the house.
Bucket hat. It's bucket hat time.
TC, you're undefeated, man. You're undefeated.
Hard to believe it has been 10 years since the 2013 Red Sox took this city to its bosom and in a lot of ways lifted the city through some dark days and the city lifting the team. And it was an incredible run of baseball. Two of the pitchers from that team joining us this week. Ryan Dempster and Jake Peavy are with us. Guys, listen, I'm older than both of you, so I don't have to tell you time flies. But my God, where has 10 years gone? Can you guys believe you're coming together and it's been a 10-year gap since that championship?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's crazy how fast time has flown. I will say this, TC, one of the best things that's happened is our ability to stay connected. I mean, whether it's text messages, group text messages, meeting up with each other, seeing each other, going to dinners. It doesn't feel like 10 years because we've stayed so close like that. And, what a magical year it was. And I'm really, really excited to everybody to get back together because it was special. It was, a lot of emotions throughout the year, but 10 years, time flies. Jake and I got more kids now and all kinds of stuff. And it's amazing how quick things go.
Yeah, no, look, just to jump on the backs of that, Tom, you think about the bond that's, you don't really realize it. And I didn't. And I've got some special relationships that I had in San Diego and Chicago that live on. But for the better part of 20 plus guys to stay connected and, like Demp said, keep seeing each other, stay in contact, it just speaks to the bond that's forged during those tough times. And when you do win a championship, that's just something that is forever, this brotherhood, that it doesn't even matter that I go 5 years without seeing Craig Breslow. When I see him, we're going to hug and fall right back into the banter that we are always in. He's going to start making fun of my Alabama ass.
So is there, you got to give us a little inside dope here. Is there a group chat? Is there a name to it? Is there one guy who's totally off the wall when he comes off the ropes into the group chat?
Well, go ahead, Jake. I was going to say that we had a really good group chat going for a while, and every time Victorino would try and pipe in with anything, everybody just buried him. Just save it, Vic. You know, why are you even on here? Like, we were just messing with him because we were just having a good, like, it was like we were still in the locker room, thousands of miles away from each other. It was just so much fun, and it was like things didn't change. I'll tell you, man, that made, for me, retiring, it made the transition easier because I still felt connected with the boys, and it's just so much fun, you know. And of course, Pedroia, like, no matter what's happening, he's the best at whatever it is. So, you know, it's always great to just be on with all the guys, and Jake knows it's a lot of fun when we're talking smack to each other.
Yeah, you got to have some thick skin. These boys all let each other know, you know. Poor Victorino. And Victorino, what a crucial, huge part. And me and Vic, Mike Cart, we sat in a lot of rooms, hotel rooms, talking ball and talking shop. Victorino for sure took the most ribbing. You know, he was the flying Hawaiian, but to us, he was pineapple.
Yeah.
But
it was fun too, because you mentioned it, Jake, right there. Vic played, you know, I know there's been Dwight Evans and there's been some good right fielders. Shane Victorino played as good a right field at Fenway Park as anybody's ever played. And, you know, we can talk about the home runs and the three little birds, but the stuff he did defensively, me and Jake, we benefited from that.
Without question. Ready to play every day. Shane Victorino, a hardcore gamer. It's been fun watching Vic fall into golf and follow him mostly on Instagram these days. The old pineapple.
Yeah, he's a good follow on Instagram, no doubt about that. What I love, Victorino's one of those guys too, but you guys both came to Boston. You'd already had great careers. Yeah, I think you'd already been 15 years. Ryan, I think you got traded here. I think it was your 12th year, Jake. But that year, parts of 2 years for you, really meant something. I mean, like the city, the connection. You know, you guys left. I remember Victorino when he got moved after, really being emotional. And here's a guy who hadn't spent that much time in Boston compared to what he had accomplished in his career. What was it? Obviously, winning a championship is a big part of that, but there was more to it than that, wasn't it? You guys are both guys that resonated with Boston fans, that enjoyed Boston, right? That took it in, didn't just make it a stop in the tour. What was it about Boston that was so special to you guys?
It was just like, I think I can speak for me is, and even Demp too, we're 15 and 12 years in. You just said it. Like, it was just the right spot at the right time for us. And the good Lord shining his face down on us and putting us there with that group of men. This group was so special. We were all like-minded, but I'd never joined a team, TC, that really talked about the goal that we were all after him, going, we're going to exhaust every option. We're going to hold every dude in this room accountable to the work that it takes to get there, the prep, and then we're going to let it flow during the game. And it takes a special effort from so many people to pull this together. You know, I go back to San Diego times, and my best playing days, me and Demp were past our primes when we got to that Boston. We couldn't do maybe what we had done 5 years or so earlier and take the team there. We had to ride the backs of John Lester and John Lackey and play the parts that we were all supposed to play. But in 2007, when I was winning awards and was the best, you couldn't do that and pull the team along. We didn't even make the playoffs in 2007. And so to get with a team that was so like-minded, you know, we all – I guess we're kind of alike, but we had Craig Breslow to Koji Urahara to Ryan Dempster to Jared Shaw to Lamakia, Johnny Gomes in the middle of this. This isn't people who all do the same thing off the field. We just cared about each other in a special way, and then had this goal in mind. And I think the bombing certainly added to that. The Bruins losing in the Garden, us becoming the only game in town. Just special energy. And you know, I said it in an interview not too long. I just feel extremely blessed to have been moved in my career into that situation with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I can say the exact same thing. You know, when you start a season, you go to spring training and you have this mentality that starts to manifest of winning and truly manifesting, not like, yeah, we're going to win the World Series, or we're talking about duck boats. We're talking about parades, like right away, right off the bat. And for what took place on Patriots Day, when you already have this kind of, when you leave spring training, you have this tight knit group. Everybody thinks they're going to have the best year. Team thinks they're going to win no matter who you are. And so you feel this way. And so what happens is the course of the season, things can fizzle out. Guys can start to get annoying. Your season goes downhill. You could start to have a heads butt against each other, players and coaches. When 2 weeks into our season, something terrible happens of which we all know took place with that bombing. That's an attack. That's an attack on, obviously, first and foremost, our city, but us as a team. And I think that just really just backs against the wall. Like, we're fighting for each other. Even if you didn't necessarily, like, we had some dudes on the team who were a little out there and they did you still had their backs. It didn't matter because it was like we had everybody, the whole city behind us, everybody behind us. So, it was really, really unique. I played 1 year in Boston. I feel like I played 10 years there. It's like amazing just how special the people were, from the clubhouse staff to the trainers to the people working at the door when you walk in the clubhouse, to the security staff around there, to people like yourself and the media. Like, I could probably say it was probably one of the best relationships between media and players throughout the year because of what happened. There was this little bit of respect, like what's important, is it important blasting a player because he made an out? No. And what's important is each other in this town and what we have. And it was really, really unique and hard fought. And like Jake said, you can talk things into existence, like I had a AAA roommate. He once said, Ryan, your biggest tool that you have is that you believe you're better than you are. And I didn't know what he meant by that at the time, but like I figured it out later. And we did that as a team. We weren't if you look at all the tools, some of the guys barely had a toolbox, but it didn't matter. When you have 24 other guys lifting you up, you feel like you're the greatest out there. And that's what we had. And it was really special.
TC, I'll tell you, and my story's a little bit different from that because these boys, like Ryan said, they were growing their playoff beards in spring training, right? I mean, this stuff was real to them. Now imagine me, and I'll tell you a quick 2-minute personal story. I played for 12 years. My grandmother is my main gal. You lose touch following, your dreams, and off in the real world, you don't call home. I called home. I made one phone call the day I pitched every 5 days. This is from the minor leagues on. And I called my grandparents' house. My parents a lot of times would be over there, but I would talk to my grandmother. My grandmother would always go, "No, baby, don't you throw it in there where they can hit it now." You want to say a prayer over me, and I would go off into my start day. Now, my grandma in 2013, January, passes away 2 weeks before I'm to leave to go to Glendale, Arizona for spring training. And she tells me what she would tell me all the time: "Baby, you tell them boys when you get out there, this is our year. We're going to win the World Series. This is the year you're going to do it." And I would tell my grandma all the time, this is what I want to do. So now I get to spring training. I go through this half a season with Chicago, and it's getting close to the end of July. I'm one of the first players to move at the deadline, and I get traded to the Boston Red Sox. It was tough for me because I'd been in Chicago 4 years, great relationships. I tell Robin Ventura and Adam Dunn, Paul Konerko, and these boys goodbye. And I now get on a flight to come to Boston. I didn't even go to the hotel on the day I arrived, which was August the 2nd. I wanted to beat everybody to the field, get to know the clubhouse staff, and just try to get acclimated in a new place. When I get there, Pedroia's already there in uniform. He's got his spikes on. It's noon. Saltalamacchia is there. He's over in his corner about where mine and Dempster's locker, where I would end up being. Johnny Gomes was a few lockers away from Pedroia. Pedroia I spoke to, and then quickly spoke to Johnny Gomes. I didn't really care for Johnny and playing against him. I like to throw balls up around his head. Not quite, but up around there. Feel uncomfortable. So I didn't know how to take it. "Johnny, how you doing, bud?" He said, "Jake, great to see you. I'm doing wonderful. It's another day closer to the parade here." And I just acknowledged that and kind of moved on. I get over to Saltalamacchia. I put my bags down. I start putting it on. I know Salty a little bit. Salty, I got my family and my kids coming in tomorrow. What kind of parade happens in Boston around? Not real familiar with the town, you know. He said, bro, he's talking about the World Series parade. He goes, we're winning the World Series. I'm not sure if you know that yet. And Jared Saltalamacchia said that to me, and I can't even explain to you. I get chills. It makes me emotional to even talk about. But I knew at that point in time, I looked at him and I said, that's what I'm here to do, pal. And I made my Red Sox debut the next night, August 3rd in Fenway Park. August 3rd is my grandmother's birthday. And got to walk off to a standing ovation, to a unbelievably warm welcome into town. And like I said, it was meant to be. I knew it from that point on. So the press play thing that Demp and everybody else said, hey, this thing's written, press play. I don't know if anything could have happened in my life, date specific with what had just transpired. And I was this instant believer. And like Demp said, it was the team, but this thing spread into everyone. Kind of knew that, hey, this team is going to be highly disappointed. There's one goal here. And man, special times.
Incredible. I mean, I remember a few days before you arrived, and when they traded for you, it was during a game. And we were doing the post-game show, like up on the right field, up near the clock there in the retired numbers. For whatever reason, we were up there that night. And yeah, this is 10 years ago. Not quite everybody had a phone. It's not quite like it is now, right? But this murmur started going through the crowds, like the fifth inning, and all of a sudden Fenway's buzzing and broke into this cheer because the news had just broken that you were coming to town. And I don't know how many towns react that way in the middle of a game, just this ovation for a guy who's not even going to arrive to town for 2 days, right? That's how, at that point, to your point, the fans were all in. The clubhouse, the fans thought you were going to win a World Series.
Comment that there was more reinforcements coming. You know, I think that the fan base loves baseball enough that it's amazing. But I don't even take that as a personal thing. I take it as a thing. Ben Sherrington, I told him this. Ben, you can't imagine being on these teams. Me and Ryan had been on teams that thought we were just good enough or maybe good enough, and we don't make that move. You know, and it's always a tough move when somebody comes in like that because positions and things have to move around. But the egos were checked at the door and everybody was on the same team. And Johnny Gomes says it best about that fan base. We as much rode that energy and got on their backs as much as it was the other way. That's for sure.
Ryan, I want to go back to April. You started the Patriots Day game, and now you're going to run the marathon. We'll get to that in a minute. But when you come back from Cleveland, we're all sheltered in place on that Friday. Saturday comes. And we're doing the pregame show on the field, and I'll never forget. I'm with Peter Gammons, and you remember it was a gloomy, cloudy, foggy morning the day after, and it's about an hour before the game, and I swear the clouds part, the sun comes down, the first responders are all being honored on the field, and then David grabs the mic and breaks FCC rules and claims it's our city as only he can. And then the Nava home run, the Gomes pose at second base with the Boston jersey. Tom Warner's a Hollywood guy, and I said that your script would get thrown out for being too incredible. No one would believe it, right? Just take us through that day, because I don't know. I've been doing this 25 years. I've never seen a day of baseball like that Saturday at Fenway Park.
No, I've never been a part of anything like that before in my life. Just take it back from starting Patriots Day when all that happened. So we start the game, we play the game. First of all, I get a text message from Tommy McLaughlin at 8 o'clock in the morning. It says, don't forget it's 11 a.m. game. Because I was starting that day. Because I knew it was a day game, but I was like, I think part of me just didn't even think about that. I said, don't worry, I'm on my way. I wasn't. I was in my kitchen just forgetting that was happening. So now I pitch that game. I think Poppy hits David Price home runs twice. David Price is texting him because he's mad because there's some sort of we're already starting a bus ride after an emotional win into we're having an emotional bus conversation because literally that's happening, And then we always had that police escort with all the motorcade for all the, the cops on bikes taking us out of town. Well, like you said, there wasn't like Twitter was just barely kind of rampant. People didn't even know how to use it yet. Instagram wasn't a thing. And like social media just wasn't really a big thing. Will Middlebrooks happened to kind of have a social media account. He's one of the younger guys on the team at the time. And all of a sudden, our police motorcade just gone. And we were like, we didn't know why. Why did all of them left? Not one, not all of them left. And then all of a sudden he's like, boom, there's a bombing. And it's downtown. And we don't know what that means. We don't know if it's coming from the sky. We don't nothing. So the bus just goes to the airport. And I've never seen people get on a plane in my entire 16-year career. And we get treated very good. And we're in and out of an airport fast. That was lightning speed. My wife called me. She's my girlfriend at the time. She called me and she said, what do I do? And I said, I know they're getting us out of town. So if you can get out of town, go. And so she got out of town. So now we go to Cleveland. The emotion, we find out what happens. Stuff starts to kind of play out. We have a big team dinner. Everybody goes to dinner. Every player on the team came to dinner. I've never had that happen in my career. And we talk about it and our responsibility and what we need to do for the town and be there for support. So we're thinking that mentality. We got to support. We got to help. We come home from Cleveland after sweeping the Indians, and then Friday we were playing a game. We didn't know. I walked to the field. It was like a scene from The Walking Dead. I could hear a newspaper going. I remember somebody was riding a bike down Commonwealth. There was a few people. It wasn't many people. I could hear the chain on the bike going down the street. That's how quiet it was. It was eerie. I'm getting goosebumps right now. So we go to the field, game's not on, go home. I had a rooftop deck in the back bay there, and all the things that happened Friday night take place, and now everybody comes out. And I'm looking down on the street, and it is just filtering with people. It is like, and to have, the mob mentality, bad things happen in mob mentalities. People get in fights, people do things happen. I've never seen this many people in a love mentality and a freedom mentality, like we're here for each other. This is and I think a lot of that comes to where Poppy said that, like he sees that stuff going on. He recognizes that. So all that stuff happens. And now you walk into the field on Saturday, and here we think that we have this responsibility as a team to uplift the city and be there. And we walk in there, and there is the governor, the mayor, the head of the Secret Service, half the Secret Service, you got Navy SEALs, you got special forces, you got police officers, paramedics, you got firefighters. I mean, you name it. I'm leaving people out. You remember that locker room? It was tight. And it was like, and I remember looking at Johnny and talking to a couple people salty, and I was like, we can't lose. How do we lose? Look what we have behind us. So now we all of a sudden have this entire force behind us, and then you go outside, and then the fans, and it was like heavy, man, in a great way, like spiritual way, where it's like, oh, you feel like the 300, but there's 25 of us. It's like can't stop us. And then, like you said, the sky parts open, and Nava hits that home run, and it's like from that point on, you're not winning, you're not beating us. I know you got a great team. I know you got great players. But we got something that nobody here has in this league. Not another team. I'm sorry, you just don't have what we have. We have more than an entire city or state. We almost have a country on our backs. And it was absolutely one of the most emotional things I've ever been through in my life. It was incredible.
That day alone would have been enough to make that season special. You carry that forward, the comeback against Detroit, win the World Series. You're on the duck boat, the one you still have, Jake, in your case. But the parade to stop at that finish line, to put those trophies down. Both of you tell me how emotional that was for you guys.
Well, that was, you guys talk about the skies partying in glorious days and baseball gods just shining their face down. Remember the playoffs, the playoffs can be cold and dreary, and a lot of it was. That parade day was 70 degrees, and it was the gods were once again just showing their love. And like you said, TC, for that parade route to stop, honor those victims, for Johnny Gomes to say, hey, look, everybody's going to walk by
Yeah, it's going to be something else, TC. Just, one thing I'll say is I remember this vividly, like I mentioned, the people surrounding us. You take that parade, and my dad's retired, now he was a fire chief for a long time. And I try to make it a point throughout that entire parade to just make eye contact with as many first responders as I could. Cops are on horseback, firefighters out there on whatever it is, and just say thank you, because this don't happen without you. So to that entire city, thank you for everything, man. That was incredible.
10 years after starting the Patriots Day game, Ryan, you're going to run the Boston Marathon, your first marathon. Take me through the process of A, making that decision, why this was important to you, and B, training to actually do this, because you're coming in for a lot of ceremonies a couple days before. It's not like you're going to be sitting around the athletes' village getting massages 24/7 here. You got a busy weekend that culminates with a 26.2 mile run.
Yeah, well, and I like it that way. Jake knows me. I don't like sitting still much. I like moving and shaking. It's a lot of fun. First of all, the moment I retired, in my brain, I said to myself, I can't wait till the 10-year reunion. And then so that was always in the back of my mind of being able to come back to Boston 10 years later and think about it. And then as I started to think about it, I just, all these memories that we're talking about. And I like to challenge myself in life. Like, I just like to try and push myself. And I thought of the marathon. I'd never run a marathon. I'd been a runner my whole career. Like, a day after a start, I have routes in pretty much every major league city that I go running through. I get, and here in Chicago, I know the city streets as well as anybody just because I'm out running them. And I thought, man, that would be really something special to be able to do. I wonder how I go about that. Like, I know you got to qualify. Do I have to qualify? So I, called the Red Sox and Pam Ken, and I said, I would love to run the marathon, and I'd love to do it in honor of somebody who passed away. If there's a foundation, and we talked through it, and that's when Lingzi Lu's name came up, and the Lingzi Foundation, and Lingzi lost her life that day, and I wanted to do something, obviously, in her honor and in honor of everybody who lost their life that day, and people that are connected to that, the families and friends, and even the people who didn't lose a life but were there and their lives were changed forever. And if I can do a little something to bring light to that and continue to keep that legacy of theirs going and that life of theirs going. This young girl was a special person, man. She treated people the way you should treat human beings. If everybody lived their life treating people like she treated people, then we wouldn't have any problems in this world. And so I'm really, really fortunate to be able to do it for her, and looking forward to that. It's going to be super emotional. I know that. And then after all that, then you like, oh wait, I got to practice. Like I got to run here. Like I can't just I like to do a lot of stuff after staying up all night with Jake and the fellas, and then just think I got it made the next day. But I really got to put some work in here. So then that just started the train running again of running and trying to just, follow a good pattern and make sure I don't get hurt. And, oh man, my hamstring's tight. I got to back off for a week or whatever it is. And just trying to take care of myself and be ready for that. I did a bunch of halves while I was training, and got up there in some mileage, but I feel like I'm going to be a little bit like one of those horses in the Derby that's just waiting for that thing to drop so I can start running out of the gate. And then I need to slow down. I just need to slow down and take it nice and easy. And This is. As the days have gotten closer and closer, I started to feel like I did when I was, 8 years old, getting close to Christmas Eve. This is pretty special.
Doug Flutie ran it for the first time years ago, and he had a great line. He told me, I just thought of it as 8 3-mile runs because I know I can run 3 miles. And he goes, I just never thought of anything beyond 3 miles. If I needed to stop and let my heart rate come down after 3 miles, I'd do that. And then it's all right, now I'm going to go run 3 miles again. Never let the whole thing become too big. So if that helps, there you go. Take that into heart.
I like that advice.
One thing Boston's done a really good job of, right? Because we didn't want the Patriots Day in Boston is special. It's a celebration. It's a party. You guys know. 11 a.m. start. I swear to God, fans are drunker on Patriots Day morning than any other game of the year. I don't know how they get started that early, but it's a special day. And so Boston did a really good job. April 15th is one Boston Day. We commemorate the bombing, the victims, the heroes, all of that. That separates, right? The anniversary is the 15th. Patriots Day remains. They didn't take that away from us, right? I think that's important. The act of terrorism didn't take away Patriots Day in the celebration. Okay, so we commemorate that on Saturday night. Those all coincide with the Hut Stove Cool Music event, which I've been involved in a long time. It's such an amazing event. You guys are both going to be huge parts of it. The Peter Gammons All-Star, Off the Mound with Ryan Dempster, and then what do we call now? Bronson Arroyo and the 04s, which is a pretty good name for a band, by the way. And Jake, you're going to play, right? Jake, you playing?
Yeah, we'll get up there and get our way through some tunes for sure. I can tell you, TC, for the people who don't know about this Off the Mount, we just got done talking about hanging out all night, and we have had a few of those in the recent months on some buses and backstage innings festival. Our good buddy Tim Sweetwood puts this on through C3 Live Nation. Demp has been doing Off the Mound, which he does in Chicago and other places, but it's just an amazing, almost like a late night television setup where it's baseball interactive, and you get these stories firsthand from baseball, music guys, and who better to talk to in a relaxed environment than Demp? He brings the best out and just gets everybody relaxed. Then you throw music around that, and the likes of Peter Gammons, Bronson Arroyo's, touch off Eddie Vedder. If you close your eyes and really have a few drinks, you don't know you're not listening to Eddie Vedder. And so it's just a fun night of celebration. I can't imagine kicking off the weekend with any more fine fashion if you're not getting down to the city winery.
It's come a long way, too, because now they actually let Theo plug in his guitar. Like, compared to the early days. So it's really come a long way since the initial event. Tell us about your part of it, Ryan. Tell us about
I've had to work my way into getting my guitar in the
They literally. So I got up on stage once with one of my favorite moments ever at spring training. One year I got up and sang background on Highway to Hell. Okay. And so the following spring training, Peter Gammons shows up in Fort Myers. TC, last time I saw you, we were on stage singing Highway to Hell together. I'm like, if that isn't a cool moment for a reporter, I don't know what is. But they said, do you want to play guitar? I was like, I can't play guitar. They're like, well, neither could Theo for the first 5 years. Don't let that bother you. Like, yeah,
Hey, don't let Jake fool you. He is deflecting right now on his talents of being on that stage. He is really, really good. He treats his band like the rock stars they are, the respect he has for the people. I have a band that's going to be there with me. The Hemispheres, they're a Chicago band, and these guys are very talented musicians. And every time we do Innings Fest, Jake's always bringing them up there with them, whether it's the horns guys or my guitar player, Pat Muldoon, or whoever it is. And they're
both, I've been in this situation where I love music so much throughout my entire career. I did nothing but chase whatever music was happening in what town I was in. And you think about us sitting in with these guys. It's like, this bass player, my buddy Kevin Scott in New York said, Jake, Kevin Costner crashed this gig and he walked, and it was, I may have, let's don't say Costner. Let's say a celebrity crashed this gig we were at. And it wasn't great for the musicians. They walked off, and I would think that was cool. I'm like, is that cool that you just played with that? And they're like, Jake, imagine if I showed up at your work and I was like, let me throw a few pitches. Let me do I think it's going to be up to their level or up to your level. And so that's what those musicians, in essence, are doing a lot of times when they're letting celebrities get their feet wet. So it's a very respectful thing that we're walking into. These guys, when you watch them put together music live in front of you, they are pros.
Yeah, he's really good, and he's been on Off the Mound. He's a regular guest. We'll have him up there on Saturday night. Yeah, it was just an idea I always had, and I love doing it. And it's a way to intertwine the core. Obviously, we talk baseball for sure, but we talk life, we talk music, comedy, movies, things going on in the world, whatever it is, and we bring a lot of those elements. Right? If somebody can play, please get up and play. If you can sing or you can't sing, like me, please get up and sing. Like have fun, enjoy that. The goodness that's in all that, and baseball and music are so intertwined throughout history, right? Like if you think about it, from the organ playing back in the day, still being played at certain ballparks, to music. Like I always joke around that the number one pump up pregame music usually going on is from a band out of New Zealand that were born in Ireland. You're talking about AC/DC. These guys are coming from New Zealand and to America's pastime, blaring through the ballpark. The most iconic walkout song by a closer, Trevor Hoffman, Jake's old teammate. I mean, hell's bells. If you got up and went to the bathroom when the Padres were winning at home in the 9th inning, just keep going to your car, because you're not a fan of either. You're just there. You pee your pants for that one. You know what I mean? You don't get out of your seat.
Down to Edwin Diaz, that was the coolest entrance in baseball.
Oh my God!
No, it was great. Yeah.
So
Papelbon was shipping up to Boston.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was those are great moments. Music enhances the moment, right? You go to a hockey game. I got to bring up hockey. You're Canadian, right? But when the team takes the ice to a certain song, that's your anthem, right? It's the same thing with a closer in baseball.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we try to do that and just show that, highlight that. I always said it Off the Mound at times, sometimes it was a half-hour show like this. Sometimes it was in a theater. We raise money for charity. A variety show, the band's great. The jokes are okay as long as I'm writing them. They're better if I'm not. And we have a good time. And I bring some video elements. I film a bunch of digital shorts, little goofy videos. And for me, it's when a fan sit there and say, "What's Off the Mound? Why should I go buy a ticket and go see this?" And I was like, well, if you like baseball, you like music, you like laughing, come for one of those, you'll have fun. If you like all three, you're going to have a great time. And that's the truth. And we just have a blast up there and hope that everybody comes out and supports it. And like, as for a great cause, the work that the Foundation to Be Named Later does in Boston, around the country, and the Peter Gammon Scholars, we'll have a scholar up there. We'll put them through the ringer, TC. I'm going to make sure they answer all the hard hitting questions and that kind of stuff. So a lot of fun as you'll find out for the first time.
Hey,
I can't wait.
How about our boy Peter being acknowledged Harvard Cultural Award, Peter Gammons?
So listen, for 2 years, Peter was alongside me, or 3 years, whatever it was, in the studio. And I can't even tell you, and it's never one-upping, because he's the most humble person on the planet. But you'd walk into a conference room and he'd, have the earpod in, and then he'd take it out, and it would be like, we get action going on. Was he talking to Little Feet who want him to come jam, or was Billy Bean telling him he was making a trade? You never know. Like, Buddy Guy wants to know if he's available to tour, or Jed Hoyer is telling him about a trade he's got in the works. It's the most unbelievable guy I've ever met. He really is.
That is so true. TC, I called Peter. Me and Peter, I've taken this MLB Network gig, and I'm loving it. I love back in the game and talking shop. And I lean on Peter and some of my old guys, so I'm talking to him a lot these days. We were going to the First Innings Festival, and I said, Peter, I know you've been, confined to Cape Cod a while. My band's playing in Phoenix. We're on Dempster, Off the Mound stage, going to be on the show. I'd love to have you out. And that sucker got on a flight, flew from Cape Cod to Phoenix, saw some baseball, and we got to play together, do Dempster show together. At his age, still rocking. And like you said, so true. Contact.
Here's the best one. Here's the best one. I told him at one point, we had a casual conversation, but we're talking about music. We're going down. Yeah, it was a rain delay or something. We're just talking. And I mentioned that my wife may have been a deadhead, right, back in the day. Okay. She, into the music, da-da-da. And he's kind of smiling. And it takes a minute to get out of him. And he just casually mentions, well, I once dated the woman who became Jerry Garcia's wife. Like, of course you have. Like, of course. Who's like this legend in the dead world, and just, that's him. Because he's so giving of his time. He has connected with so many people in so many different arenas. Everyone's got a story about Peter.
He comes in that humility you're speaking of. You said he's the most humble guy you know. When he comes in that spirit and he's beloved by everyone, it's a life lesson for us all.
Unbelievable. Guys, this was great. Really, we could go forever, but I know you both have, you've got training to do. And Jake, you got to get back to the beach. Monday morning. So Monday morning, after all this, you're getting honored, right? The event is Saturday. We'll finish on this. Sunday, the Red Sox are going to have you guys together as the team. I think that's Sunday before the game, right? Which is great. And then you'll do whatever you do Sunday night. Monday morning, Ryan, you're in Hopkinton at what time? Like, how does that work?
I got to get picked up I'm getting on the bus at 7:45. We got an 8 a.m. departure.
What time do you leave? What time do you run? Do you know what group you're in? Do you know what time you start?
I think it's 10:20 or something like that, right around there.
So I just want to compare that with what you expect your Monday morning to be like, Jake.
Oh, God. Well, look, we're leaving out Sunday. Zach Brown, those boys are in town. They started Fenway run with us in town. They come and saw us, took some batting practice, ended up meeting Sam Kennedy. Next thing you know, they're selling out Fenway. So they're going to be in town. I'm sure it's going to be a late night. Look, I will tell you this. I will be a little bit on the struggle bus, not on Ryan's bus. I'll be on the struggle bus. I will quickly change my spirits, and we will be channeling all our spirit towards this guy right here, towards Brock Holt. This is a big thing. Like Tim said, an emotional day. We will have these victims on our mind. Like you said, we're going to have lots of fun, but this group knows that we're coming to town also to commemorate these victims and make sure that nobody's lost, and that 10 years later, their names and their legacies are still remembered. So on Monday, I can tell you this, I've got a good group coming. Dip knows a lot of my family and friends. We're going to be joining forces with Wally, Kelly, and the rest of that Dip family. We're going to be getting Dip and Brock Holt through a marathon, and then Dip's going to wake up Tuesday feeling like I did Monday.
That's perfect. That's how you walk it off. Guys, really enjoy the visit. We'll see you when you get back to town. We'll see you Saturday night at City Winery if we don't see you before that. Ryan Dempster, Jake Peavy, thanks. It was great. Going to be an emotional weekend, as I said at the top, for sure. There's going to be a lot of tears shed as we look back on what happened 10 years ago, the victims, the heroes, the community that came together in the aftermath of the bombing, but also to take time to remember what that 2013 Red Sox team meant to all of us. An improbable championship. They weren't the best team in baseball, but they were the champions of baseball, who beat all comers and all competition. And really, it was the spirit in that clubhouse that reflected the spirit in our community after what we went through. And we'll never forget the 2013 team and how in so many ways they reminded us that the power of sports, the power of a team to bring a community together. The Red Sox did that in 2013. Ryan Dempster and Jake Peavy were big parts of that and really enjoyed their visit. Hope you enjoyed it as well. We'll see you again next time. Subscribe, like, whatever you do with your podcasts, but keep us in mind as we do this each week. We'll see you again next week with another edition of the TC and Company podcast. Thanks.